Bismillah ar-Rahman rahim. So the company menu is over. Now let us go for the accounting. So click on the accounting. The first one is accountant center. Click on the accountant center. You can find out the detailed information. So now let us go each of this one by one. First, let us start with the batch enter transaction. What is batch enter transaction? Click on this one. See, through batch enter transactions, you can create a batch of the transactions. It means you can create several transactions. Regarding what? Several transactions regarding checks. It means at the same time you can enter several checks. At the same time you can make several deposits. At the same time you can enter several bills and credits. At the same time you can create several invoices. Let us say, for example, we want to create several bills. First of all, you have to select the date. For example, this is the date. So this has become the check number. Of course, when you select the check, so then you have to select your bank account as well. Let us say, for example, this is okay, Kabul Bank. This is the check number 14. To whom you're paying this one? For example, I'm paying to one of our vendor by the name of, we can say, Aligo. And for what purpose you're paying? I'm paying, for example, because of the training expenses. Or otherwise, you can mention other expenses. Let us say, for example, I'm paying this one because of traveling expenses. Right? How much is the amount? For example, the amount is 20,000. Another check. I want to pay for another customer. For example, again on the same day, then check number increase automatically. This one is, for example, payable to one of the other vendor by the name of Muhammad Sader. And of course, okay, remove this one. And for what purpose I'm paying this one? This is, and select any kinds of expenses. Let us say this is because of the rent. And how much is the amount? For example, the amount is, we can say 25, right? So in this way, you can do it. You can create several, we can say this one. You can create several check at the same time. And let us create one more, for example, this time, okay. Select the specific date, for example, create one more check, for example, for the previous month. And definitely you have to provide the check number manually. Why it should be provided manually? Because previously it was automatically by the QuickBook, but once you have removed that one, then you have to mention it or enter it manually. For whom, once again, let us say, for example, this time for Khanjan. Why there's a problem with this checks? Okay, let us remove this date. Okay, I've removed this part as well. So, okay, fine. Check issued for whom? For Khanjan. And this is because of what expenses? If it is not for one expenses only, if it is not only for one expenses, then in this case you can click on what? For a split, on a split. Why this is so? Because it shows that the amount that you pay, for example, for this Mr. Khanjan is not only for one expenses. This is for several expenses. If this is so, then you can classify these expenses. Let us say, for example, portion of the amount that I'm paying is for meals and entertainment. How much is for meals? Let us say, for example, amount of. Okay, fine. Sorry. Let us say, for example, amount of 3,000. Also, I'm paying to Mr. Khanjan for some other expenses. Let us say for insurance. How much I'm paying for insurance? Let us say I'm paying amount of 2,000. Then okay, then it means, so you can classify the expenses as well. It means if you issue a check for several expenses, you can do that one as well here. Not a big issue. Also, for example, select the check number 17. Let us say, for example, check number 17 is payable to another one, Said Rahim, for example. And why we are paying for this one, you can select the account. Otherwise, you can split it. Again, we want to split, no, not a big issue. So why you are paying, for example, I am paying because of utility bills. How much is the amount? Amount is, for example, 15,000. Also, for example, I'm paying to him because of traveling expenses. How much is that one? For example, 20,000. 5,000. So 15 plus 5 become equal to how much? 20,000. It means it is classified. So at the same time, you can create several checks. Then you can save the transactions, right? You save the transaction, so 4 checks are created. How can you check that? Of course, you can check it from the banking that how many checks are created now. This is possible. Not only the checks, at the same time, you can create several invoices, for example. Let us create invoice. If you select invoice, then instead of bank, so it shows the account receivable. At the date, for example, select the date. This is the date. This is invoice number. This one. And this is for which customers. Let us say, for example, we want to create for Mariam, right? The terms and conditions, if you want to select, for example, amount, how much is the amount? We don't want to mention the amount, the items, but instead of items, I want to split it, right? How much is the amount? Instead of amount, let me select the items. For example, we want to sell books. How many books, for example? Let us say, for example, we want to sell 110 books. 110 into 300 become 33,000. Not only books, we want to sell battery also. How many battery? For example, 20 battery. If it is multiplied, it becomes this much. Then save it. So it means in the same screen, you can create several invoices for Ahmad, for Mahmoud, for Raouf, for anyone, as you can do. Save and close the transaction. If you check now the customers, definitely one invoice will be created for whom? For this customer. Let me check out. Yes, I check the customer, check the invoice. Today. Select today's date. We have created an invoice for whom? For Mariam now. And this is the amount, right? So in this way, you can create several transactions from this one, from batch enter transactions. Not only this one, even you can do the bill as well. Several bill at the same time, several invoice at the same time, several deposit in the same time. So all of them can be done in the form of a batch. And on the right side, you can see customized columns. It shows that how many columns should appear here. Click on this one. Right now, chosen column. These are the columns that appear here. Available column. These are the available columns. Let us say, for example, we want to add online payment also. Right now, there is no online payment. But if you add this one, save it now. Online payment also will be available here. Right? Online payment is also available. So this was the usage of, we can say, batch enter transaction.